Right, morning Mark. We're here at Westhumble this morning rather than Meadowbank. We're going to be talking about the last
freezing
decade.
Cold.
Yeah, freezing cold, lots of fog up on the hill, but iconic place. So you're going to tell us all about the last decade of Dorking Wanderers.
Yeah. I thought, when we spoke about it, I thought what better place to come than down here, because this is where it's been really, and during this decade, this is where it's this is what it's all about, and it's important to the club, Westhumble, not just about its roots, but I think it's important for other clubs to understand the journey that this club's been on, because I still see, social media and people don't understand it, and they actually quite value the story. But this place is an incredible story, really, with probably, non-comparable anywhere. I mean, it's a ground that we moved to just before the decade started, and we had to build it ourselves from scratch, literally from scratch. There's not much left of it now, which is a sad sight, but our youth team is still down here. But I mean, when I say from scratch, there was absolutely nothing here at all, so we had to beg the guy to give us this wood actually that's still here now, and but even before that there was a rope round the pitch. We had to build up the changing rooms, which are over there. There was nothing there. They were just burnt to the floor old buildings. There was floodlights here that have now gone. They've gone off to Guernsey. There was stands around the place, but within that period of that kind of 10-year period, if you like, to the back end, this went from being nothing to a football ground fit for Ishbin League football. Some would say not fit, and then back to pretty much nothing again. Obviously, it's got a few buildings here now, so it enabled the kids to play down here. But I mean, for me personally, I used to come down here with my little girls and the dog, and I used to wash the kit. So this is when I think about how far we've come, right? I used to wash the kit. Bring the kit down here, the dog would run about, the girls would run about, soaking wet, freezing cold. I'd be in the changing rooms hanging up the kit, doing the tactics. I'd put the warm-up out, I'd go home full of mud about 11 in the morning. The car would be thick of mud from the kids, and then we'd come back for a game in the afternoon. So that was the level of help back then we had. I was doing everything myself, initially, in terms of on a match day. But the actual, looking at some of these buildings now, I mean, the club's got loads and loads of avid followers, and I think about likes of James Lampard and his brother Andy Lampard, and these boys physically. That I remember putting the felt on the top of that roof when we come down here with James, Andy, Tim Rayner, club volunteers at the time. So there's so many people been involved in actually building the thing, and in the early days down here. When we first came here, we was around about West Sussex Prem County 3, which is step 7, 8, 9, and it was all my friends playing, the likes of Mick Daniels and Steve Duffel, Tony Sawyers, Tony Knight, all local boys that still go down and watch the games now, and we had some good times and lots of success.
Yeah, we did.
A good time. This is we had to bring in this because to start off with, we got 3 changing rooms out of one building with like Textrix inside, but then as the grading went up, somebody gave us this with a porta cabin which we had to put wood on. We bought some shonky toilets to tick a box for the grading. All the players put down the concrete. I remember the players, we had no floodlights, but we had to have a path for the grading, so we had to get we had to do it one evening. We had to get a deal off a concrete guy, and he could only do it at night, and we had to get all the players to drive their cars up and put the lights on so we could get it. And Kev Burgess, the centre half, whose dad Frank actually was a volunteer for donkey's years and still is now. We know Frank. And Kev Burgess went round on his knees, and he was the only one good enough to level it out, and that was so it's a very bit of an organic production down here. And we've had 5 promotions down here.
5,
in this decade, which takes some doing, obviously. First couple very much with friends and some of the originals from the club, but It's it's been amazing. The first one down here, there was just a rope around the pitch. It went down to the last game of the season versus the Uni of Chichester.
Chichester.
Yeah, they was the it literally went to the last game of the season, and it was winner takes all. Whoever wins the league. And Leroy Hyatt, Dorking lad, follows the club still. Got both goals that day, and that was a good night out. That was a fun night out.
But it was.
And and then it just kind of took off really. A lot of the local lads stayed through the county league days, and it just kind of took off down here, to be frank. And it's got a million memories. But when you think about it, the best thing to think about this place is it went from nothing, but then in that last season down here where we won the playoffs, the last promotion down here, I think we had 4,500 people attend the last 3 matches.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And down here, I mean, it's the most beautiful, unbelievable backdrop, and people love this place. I mean, in the summer you wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and in the winter you want to be anywhere else, middle of nowhere. But it was a 3-sided ground, always was. But like I said, we had best part of 4,500 people in here for that year we won from the playoffs in Ryman 1.
Yeah, who was it? We had Corinthian Casuals in the final, and who was it in the semi?
We had Hastings. Well, the problem was we had Tooting last game of the season, and we both.
That's right, with joint on points.
105 points. Yes, I like to call it joint champions still.
Yeah.
But we was.
And we had to beat them 5-0.
We could still win it goal difference last day. It's a big crowd for that. Then we had the playoffs, and in terms of nervousness of promotions, that was one of the most nervous, because we massively, deserved to go up anyway, but ended up in the playoffs on 105 points.
Yeah.
And we'd burnt a gasket, but then it didn't go to plan really in the playoffs. But we managed to scrape through, which was good.
Yeah, going back a bit. I mean, I haven't been with the club that long, only since September 2016. But some of the players that played that day against Carl Shorten, it was, and we won it.
Yeah.
I think we've still got 9 of those players that are with us now, and I know you've talked before about how important those players have been. Are there any standout players you'd like to mention?
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes a lot to earn my adoration, really. I mean, it's the likes of, in this decade, I mean, once all my friends and that had gone and moved on and retired, etc., the next era came in. But Chris Bolter really was he was the one that he was a big signing for us, because he was at Leatherhead at the time.
Yes, yeah.
And I got Bolts down. If it wasn't the sort of ground you could impress people with, you're better off taking them to someone else's ground.
Yeah.
But Bolts came down, and he sort of helped us kick on professionally, because he came down and he said, Bolts' exact words on that first day were, he said, look, I'm happy to play. He goes, but I'll be honest, he goes, I think I'm way past my best. That's what he said.
And that was back then?
That was back then, because he hadn't had a good time at Leatherhead, and I think he convinced himself that he couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. And then Bolts went on to captain the side through umpteen promotions. He'd run through a brick wall for you. He was everything the club was all about. And, so he came in, and then, that kind of period down here, we had some cracking players down here. And during that, I mean, I think hard push to pick player of the decade, if you like. But, Tom Tolfrey goes close, because... I mean, Tolf came in and just, barged his way into just goals, and
still the record goal scorer for Wanderers.
Yeah, record goal scorer. Yeah, I mean, but that era, Tolfrey, Bolter, there's from that era. I mean, let's not forget Ben Dyatt, Sheridan, Jerome Beckles has been here. Jerome's been here throughout. He's still here now.
Yeah, Oaksy.
Anthony Oakes. What a great bunch, and that's what that's what our success has always been built on. Is the kind of continuity. Yes. People want to play for the club, and etc. But these boys, I mean, the hardest part of the job for me in the club is when these boys, if they can't quite take us forward, and you have to have that chat. I mean, when Bolts and Tolf went this year, just gone. Yeah. The heartbreaking stuff. I wish I could do it. I wish there was a way of doing it for them. I wish we could play 30 players. But no, so we had some magnificent players, and of course, it's easy to forget the likes of Briggs.
Yeah,
Briggs,
he was here when I came.
He would have been here.
Yeah.
I mean, Briggs came down here. He went to Guildford Uni. That would have been 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, yeah.
Or 5 years ago probably. And he came down here at 17 years old.
Yeah.
And he seems like he's been around for ages, and he has, because he was tearing it up down here, and he was like, again, a bit the new sort of era.
Yeah.
I mean, Briggs was that era with Briggs and Tolf and Bolts and all these boys, Oaksey, Dyer, Hamlin, all these lads, Sheridan.
Yeah.
This that was a great side. That was one hell of a side, and it really put us on the map. You know, it really did.
Yeah.
Really, really did. So
and not forgetting Macca, who's still with us, of course, as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it's so hard to remember everybody.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, definitely.
But again, McShane, you know, and it's just when they come to the club, you know, no one ever says a bad word about it, because it's very inclusive as a club, on and off the field, and we have a great team spirit, but we do things the right way, and it's interesting, because there is so many boys that play through this decade down here, and then you know, they're still involved, or they're watching, or they're on the coaching team, but also, you know, in the last 10 years down here, the other thing I always remember is the amount of volunteers.
Yes.
You know, that you had, the amount of volunteers to help the club get where it's got to. I mean, the club would never have been able to progress without the people that put the roof on there, or the concrete down, or the late trucker, if we called him, that him and his wife Penny used to serve hot dogs and teas in there, in the cafe, and these, you know, Frank on the gate, you know, these, you know, every single, the bloke who lent us the rope, you know, the guy who gave us a deal on the wood, you know, the floodlights, which we bought second hand from Wisbeck Town, last minute to pass a grading.
That's
last minute.
That one.
You know, the residents. I mean, over the train track, there's a pretty smart estate, and these guys, they were like, wow, we can't believe there's a football team down here now, and they were really fearful of their whole life changing.
Oh yeah.
And we had to attend parish council meetings, and in the end we ended up having a great relationship, and you know, but it's really challenging to get the planning consents, and so many people helped throughout that stage,
massive,
to get us where we are. But and it is really for me, and it still as the club is today, making sure that we, you know, remember and understand and absorb all the people that help us get there, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to come on to. I mean, you often talk about it, how important on the field activities obviously are, and that's got us to where we are, but not to forget the off the field team. And that off the field team is growing all the time.
It's massive,
and their contribution, like you said, from even before you got to Westhumble and now continuing at Meadowbank, I mean, how important has that been? Well,
it's massive. I mean, it's I would say our setup off the field is bigger than, I'd say, League One club, League Two club. You know, I mean, in terms of sponsors, etc., we've got in the region of 60. But that's kind of the commercial side. But actual volunteers, skilled volunteers, helpers, people that can take the club forward. We've got 30 odd people of a skilled level. You know, a new media team that's fantastic, and we've just got people of all genres now that are all. And I feel when people come to the club, they feel like it's a genuine common goal.
Yes.
You know, it's their club, because it's not. There's no one coming in and out of the club. No one's playing games with it. It's had one careful owner, if you like, now assisted by 2, 3, 4, 5 other careful owners, and you know, so I think everyone really appreciates that part, and it's a lot easier to buy into. You know, people get the kind of organic element of it. You know.
Well, it's one of the comments, and we've had a lot recently from supporters, and you know David London, and one of the trains going past.
Yeah, I know, There's a story on that one.
There is,
back in with my daughter once, and we got hit by it.
Well, it's funny, on evening matches they used to toot, didn't they? As they went past. But coming back to David, I mean, he was saying to me the other day that the 3 words that he felt summed up Dorking Wanderers were ambitious, welcoming, and progressive.
Yeah,
and I agree. I think that's what we're all about, definitely.
Well, I mean, football's I mean, look at football now. VAR just about tops it off, doesn't it? You know, in terms of like where Premier League football's gone, it's just it's TV driven, it's commercialised. It's you know, the FA Cup finals at midnight. You know, it's football's changed an awful lot, and it's you know, but football always was at the hub of the community, and it's you know the local football club could really be a great way of tying in everybody, whether they played, spectated, followed, sponsored, volunteered, contributed to, and I think that's what this football club has done. It's glued together a community, and you know it's got, you know, I'm proud enough to say, because it's not banging our own drum. It's important people understand it's got to be the most organic success story by far in the country. If you're talking absolute, you know, from nowhere, we hope it continues. You know, we want to build a club for the future, for somebody else to run, and for that same spirit to be involved. But you know, what Westhumble done and what was done at Westhumble will always epitomise. And if ever that gets forgotten, then the club probably sold out somewhere. And we must never get fussy when we go to grounds and other teams and clubs that are struggling or the facilities aren't amazing, because we've come from this, and we know what it takes. You know, we've laid every single brick, and there was not even any water here. We had to. I remember that Steve Evans, our left back, Dan Evans, our left back's dad, sat on the digger on a burning hot day, and 300 metres dug a trench. You know, and but these are the people that get you where you are, so it's important we don't forget our roots down here. But I don't think we ever could have thought we'd get this much success like we have. So I mean, here, like you said, I mean, you mentioned to me about it being the spiritual home, but it's important, like you said, to recognise the foundations that were literally built here. And the platform that's given Dorking Wanderers for its future success. I think this it's always attracted. The club attracts like-minded people, and I think about my best moment down here. There's a load of good moments, but my best moment by far had to be the playoff final against Casuals. Pure nature, the fact the way we won, because we was awful, and we should have lost on the day, easily should have lost, but we had 105 points. But on the day, Slav, who's obviously been, you know, I mean, he epitomises the club. I mean, Slav used to ride his bike here to train for the reserve team. All those years ago. And it makes me laugh, because sometimes people say to me, you know, would you ever look for a new keeper? Oh, there's this keeper down the road, and you just think, you know, you have to break both my arms, and probably Slav's, to be fair, because this is not what it's all about. It's about the boys that matter and care, and that on that particular day, that day, I've never seen such a one-man show in my entire time in football, in terms of Slav on that particular day. He was man of the match by a mile. He was tipping things over the bar. We should never ever have survived the 90 minutes, and it went to a penalty shootout, and there was only going to be one winner. He was on absolute fire. And I remember actually, and Danny Dudley, who's now at Carshalton, good player, and he's left-footed. And I always used to say to Slav, left-footed players like me, I said, they tend to side-foot penalty, Slav. And he would always say, I know. And I remember Danny Dudley walking up to take the last penalty, and I remember thinking, he'll read this one easy. And he almost dived past the ball. He got there so quick, and it was just the best moment, you know. But I think to get promoted in that way at that time, in front of so many people, won a lot of local people over. It really massive, did. It was a big thing at the time. That's my best memory down here for sure.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you. So you covered that well. I mean, I remember it well. I just remember, and when I was actually on the pitch, you don't see it quite the same. But watching the video and seeing how fantastic those saves were. I mean, they should have been, shouldn't they? We all agreed they should have been 4 up.
Oh yeah,
easily.
we were. Yeah.
You know, it'd have been done and dusted. But he was miraculous that day.
No, it was unbelievable. I mean, our penalties were brilliant, and Slav just had the best day. But it was just that day it was the lapse of the gods. It was to be our 105 points. We deserved it, and we found a way, and that kicked us on. But like I said, that was the 5th promotion we'd had at this venue.
This ground,
and it's fair to say I think we've had to do something like 4 or 5 different gradings at the ground here.
Yeah.
As we've gone along. And the time that took, and the people and the involvement that took is incredible. And what we also built up down here was a football management team.
Yes, yeah.
So the likes of Tom Duke, Dean Milton, Craig Byrne, ex-player, Grant Steele, physio now. Yeah. He's in the Slav category, Grant, because he's been here that long.
Oh, yeah.
But we built up a really strong management team since we. During this time here, so I went from and set up in general. So I went from doing the kit and putting the nets up, if you like, to then sort of actually being able to plan for the football a bit more myself.
Yes.
But so it's been responsible down here for pretty much the club's key a really key period. And this is so this is a decade, if you like, that this place come and went, really.
Well, there's a couple of words that a couple of words I'm going to use. One, and it epitomises the club for me, whether you're a player, a volunteer in the management team or a fan, is commitment. And you mentioned Slav and his commitment and all the volunteers that have been here, but also desire. I mean, there's a real strong desire among everyone involved with the club, and just to keep on getting better, and this great sort of swell of motivation and everything else. I mean, that really sums the club up.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it's easy to recognise, but the fact is the club was just a bunch of friends, and now, I mean, the fact this is its youth set up down here. We've got an academy in 18 to 23. I think we worked out it's over, from little kickers, it's over 1,000 members locally. Huge amount of local business support. Ever increasing fan base, which is brilliant as well. So it is sometimes a kind of pinch yourself moment, but that's why the club must stay true to its foundations and not forget where it's come from. And that I always make the reference point, because I feel the pressure to keep winning. Personally, that's just me. But we must remember where we come from. We must never ever fear failure or tough times, because we've achieved so much. It's incredible, and that's why it's important with the fans and all of our commercial following and people involved. Win, lose or draw, that's it. They're with the club, and that's what's important to me foremost.
Yeah, it's that acceptance, isn't there? And I think that's another important factor that I've noticed is that level-headedness. I mean, from the short time I've been here, that's never changed. Changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. No, it really is a massive team effort, a huge group effort. We never ever would be where we are now in a month of Sundays without the off the field team, without the management team behind the club. It really is a massive joint effort. It really truly is. So, it's quite. Actually, I thought I was coming down here today. I thought I was shedding tears or something, but actually, no. To be fair, it's all right. It's good to see that it's still in use. But to think we used to train here, play here.
Like you used to warm up on the back,
honestly,
there, didn't you, as well?
I mean, you was only a touch ago whether you break your ankle training. We used to sweep the water off the pitch permanently. I know people aren't a fan of 3G. But, where we are now, but but you don't have any of those conversations on a Saturday morning. I remember trying to get a game on, and it was like a lake in the corner, but we needed the money, and I said we've just got to get the game on. So I remember we had brooms and were sweeping it off, and it's kind of real football stuff. Really, we're very lucky to be where we are now.
But like you said, that's because of what you've been through down here. You appreciate what we've got now because of what you experienced here, and that says a lot. Well, here we are on New Year's Eve, and you've talked brilliantly about what's happened over the last decade. Let's look forward now. Got a big match coming up against Stockport in the FA Trophy. Furthest we've been, in the trophy.
What's
the next 10 years going to bring us?
Well, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, we had a bit of a dream last 12 months really, to get promoted, move grounds, and then win the league in the last year. It's been really enjoyable. It's a different type of enjoyment for me the last 12 months, because I've been able to share it with all the kids in their shirts and the committee and the volunteers, and everybody's been able to share it. We had a great time after the Haringey game celebrating together, and it's just a different type of success really. And also the nature of the success. Last year, winning the league by that far.
22 points.
Yeah. Everybody said because we signed Jason Pryor, all you saw was pound signs. But
yes,
I mean,
exactly,
they forgot about the other 15 players that have been here for 5 years.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we brought in the last couple of years the likes of Jason Pryor, Sammy Elab, David Ray. These boys we've got down there now, and they just epitomise the club. We choose these boys carefully. They're professional boys, and they now get it. They now it takes kind of 5-6 months. Ed Harris is, the most recent recruit, and Jake Gallagher. Yeah. And Jake's, these boys say to me, I've played at a lot of clubs, and this club is just really special. They really get it, and no, I just think the buy-in from the lads last year to win the league by that far was phenomenal. It's our biggest ever league success. Incredible season. Yeah. And showed lots of steel throughout. And I think for me, I don't fear anybody, at all. I don't fear nobody. I think genuinely, money aside, I think as we've gone higher, it's got easier. Money aside, because I think we know what we're doing. We've got off the field, we've got a scouting team of 5, management team of about 8 when you include 3 physios. We're a real strong force. We're so organised. I don't fear anybody at all. I don't fear progression. It's far harder to progress off the field for me than it is on. If I'm straight, that's not me being bullish. I'm just the history books show that. And I just think if the community can keep coming together, and following the club and supporting the club, understand the story behind it, I think we can go further. I mean, if you think about it, we've done 5 promotions. I'm pretty sure, might be wrong, that probably puts us in the Premier League if we replicate that in the next 10 years or somewhere near. Yeah, we'll have to work that out, but somewhere near. What would it be? South, National, 2, 1.
Championship.
Championship, that'll do. Yeah, we'll do the Championship, that'll do. We'll have to move back here though. Not so sure the residents
so 10 years time we'll do this again.
Yeah.
And
let's hope we've not gone backwards.
No.
But if we have.
No.
Listen, it is what it is. It's what it is. I think that's that we're not. We just do our best, and we just keep working hard, and we just do it for the moment and the enjoyment, and that's it. And we're for Dorking, what the club have done is brought back that old-fashioned community aspect of football. The dads and the mums bringing the kids down in the shirts, the granddads, the grandpas in the stand. People talking to each other again locally. On a match down the high street, they're walking past each other in the shirts, and they're all having a chat about their favourite players. Well, who would have thought? Because we've come from obscurity, so we've really brought that back to the town, and I know the town's appreciative of that. But there's a lot of people work really hard to deliver that. So, frankly speaking, I don't know. I haven't got a clue where we could get to. We're just to a point. We're just working it out as we go along. Really,
just keep on going. Keep that Dorking Wanderers spirit. Thank you very much, Mark.
No
it's been a real pleasure coming down here, and fantastic. So happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Eastbourne tomorrow.
Yes, Eastbourne tomorrow.
Here we go.
Yeah.